Beautiful. Thank you for joining me for a what I'm calling a wellness triathlon. My name is Holly. I use she, her pronouns. We're going to do 15 minutes of breath work, 45 minutes of Yin Yoga, and then an optional 15 minutes of journaling and reflection. The first Tuesday of every month, I always offer some sort of journaling and reflection as well as yoga, just so that every month we have kind of like a check-in point, both in body, but also in mind and spirit. You don't need to have any fancy yoga props for this class. There's no prior yoga experience necessary. All you need is a yoga mat or carpeted area. If you want to stay for journaling, you'll want a paper and pen somewhere nearby. And then for yoga, you might want like a household blanket or pillow, but again, no fancy yoga props. So we're going to start in a comfortable seated position. This is a floor-based class. We'll be on the floor the whole time. You can sit crisscross applesauce or in Sukhasana easy pose and just take a moment to rock back and forth, side to side. You can sit up tall, maybe roll your shoulders forward a few times, backward a few times, then just drop your shoulders, lift your chest, relax your face. You're welcome to close your eyes. If closing your eyes is distracting, you can do a soft fuzzy gaze just beyond the tip of your nose. Just take a slow inhale through your nose. And a slow exhale through your nose. Breathe in and empty out. So breath work is kind of like a hot topic or a hot word in the wellness community right now. And essentially it's this idea of focusing on our breath. In the yogic tradition, we would call it the pranayama limb of yoga, or the breath control limb of yoga. And there's all different types of breathing techniques to do. Some of them can even bring you into kind of like a psychedelic experience. Some of them really help to release serotonin in the body, helping you to feel a little bit happier. Some of them are really good at helping you feel calm. And I'm going to offer a few today in our first 15 minutes of class. So we're going to start with a really simple breathing technique that helps you use your breath to bring the mind and body together. And it's just called 1 through 10 breathing. And the idea is you're going to start by inhaling for a count of 1, exhaling for a count of 1. Then you inhale for 2, exhale for 2, inhale for 3, exhale for 3. Make your way all the way up to inhaling for 10, exhaling for 10. And then you're going to go back down 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What this does is invites us to keep our thoughts on our breath. If you find that you've lost count at any point, you can just start over again. And if you never quite make it to 10 because you have to keep starting over, that's okay too. Again, it's just this idea that we're centering our thoughts on our breath through the count. And we're also matching our breath. When we match the inhale to the exhale, it's called an even breath. And it helps to calm the body, helps to bring you into the parasympathetic nervous system response, telling your body that there's no need to fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. For our 1 through 10 breathing, you are welcome to close your eyes, but if closing your eyes is a little distracting or weird, you can keep your eyes open and do a soft fuzzy gaze just beyond the tip of your nose instead. I will start us out on the first 3 breaths, and then we'll enter into silence, and I'll invite you to work up to 10 and then back down to 1. Okay, sitting up tall, shoulders soft, spine long, face relaxed, and begin. Inhale through your nose for 1, exhale through your nose for 1. Inhale through your nose for 2, exhale through your nose for 2. Inhale through your nose for 3, exhale through your nose for 3, and we'll continue up to 10 and back down. All right, that was 1 through 10 breathing. You might take a moment to pause and reflect. Did you make it up to 10 and back down? Was it easy to focus on your breath, or were you losing track a lot? I know for me, when I do that breathing exercise, something that comes up for me is I want to rush through it. Like if I, make my breaths a little bit faster than a real second, then I'll get to the end faster. And that's just a reminder for me that in yoga and in breath work, it's really about the process and not the destination. And when we kind of slow down and just enjoy the moment rather than trying to rush to the end or the finish line, our breathing becomes a little bit less labored and our mind starts to soften as well. Next, I'm going to invite you to place one hand over your heart space and one hand over your abdomen. And there's kind of two ways that we tend to breathe into our body. One is a more shallow breath, breathing into our chest. You might take an inhale through your nose and feel your chest rise. Exhale through your nose, feel your chest fall. And then there's what some describe as a deep belly breath, like really breathing into your diaphragm. So inhale, breathing into the abdomen this time, feel your abdomen rise. And exhale through the nose, feel your abdomen fall. Next, we're going to do a breathwork technique that I actually like to do lying on my back. You can do it sitting up or lying against something. I'm going to invite you to lie on your back for it if you'd like. And I'm going to stay upright so that I can talk you through it without awkwardly lying on my back. This is a breathing technique where you're going to inhale through your nose into your chest, inhale through your nose into your abdomen, and then you're going to slowly exhale through your mouth, letting the air out. So it's a double inhale into the chest, into the abdomen, and then out through the mouth, letting the lungs empty. I find that at the beginning of this breathing exercise, when I practice it, sometimes I can feel a little bit anxious. So if you also feel a little bit of anxiety when you're doing this, I invite you to remember that you are in control and that you can stop at any time, but also that something kind of magical happens in this breathing exercise if you can get to the other point. So I'm saying a disclaimer here that if it starts to feel uncomfortable for you, you're welcome to remind yourself that you're safe, that you're in your body, that you're in control. And if it continues to feel uncomfortable for you, you can go back to our 1 through 10 breathing, inhaling for 1, exhaling for 1, working all the way back up to 10 and then back down again. So there's that option if this diaphragmatic breath ever becomes just not your thing right now. Okay, so especially if you're lying on your back, really let your head, hands, and feet be heavy. Let the floor hold you up. And if you are sitting up tall, right, feel your sit bones firmly rooted into the floor. So you feel really grounded and safe. And before we begin, I'm just going to offer something that you can say out loud or silently to yourself, but sometimes it can be empowering to actually say it out loud, especially when you're on Zoom and there's no one else there to hear you. I am safe in my body. I am safe in my body. I am safe in my breath. I am safe in my breath. Okay. So we're going to begin here. Inhale through your nose, chest rise. Inhale through your nose, belly rise. Exhale through your mouth, let the air out. Inhale into the chest. Inhale into the abdomen. Exhale through the mouth, let it out. Inhale into heart space. Inhale into lower abdomen. Exhale through mouth. Inhale into chest. Inhale into abdomen. Let it out through the mouth. We'll do this for 1 more minute. Inhaling into the chest. Inhaling into the abdomen. Exhaling through the mouth, let it out. You can pause your diaphragmatic breathing for a moment. Notice any shifts in sensation in your body. And you're going to repeat to yourself silently or out loud, I am safe in my body. I am safe in my body. I am safe in my breath. I am safe in my breath. I am in control of my own experience. I am in control of my own experience. And we'll return to the breath. Inhale into the chest. Inhale into the abdomen. Let it out through the mouth. Inhale into heart space. Inhale into lower stomach. Let it out through the exhale breath. We'll continue with a minute, inhaling into the heart, inhaling into the belly, exhaling through the mouth. If your mind is starting to feel anxious at any point, just remember that it's your brain's job to protect you. You can gently thank your brain for maybe ringing an alarm, and then remind yourself that you're safe, that you're in your body, you're in your breath, and you're in control of your own experience. Inhaling into the chest, inhaling into the abdomen, exhaling through the mouth. Pause the breath for a moment. I am safe in my body. I am safe in my breath. I am in control of my own experience. We'll do one more minute of into the chest, into the abdomen, out through the mouth. Whenever you're ready, return your breath to normal and saying out loud or silently, I am safe in my body. I am safe in my breath. I am in control of my own experience. Let that breathing exercise go. Let it wash over you. You can do that breathing exercise for up to 15 minutes. Today we did it for about 6 minutes. And the first time I did that, it took me a while to process. So if that spoke to you in any way or it made you feel some kind of way, just remember that you don't have to process it all at once. And if that wasn't really your thing or it was weird, that's totally okay too. One of the things that I love about mindfulness is that you can take what works for you and leave the rest. Take a slow inhale through your nose, feel your body rise. And a slow exhale through your nose, feel your body fall. Breathe in and empty out. If you're on your back, continue to lie on your back. If you were seated for the breathing exercise, you can make your way onto your back for our first Yin Yoga posture of the day. Going to do a fan favorite banana pose, Bananasana. Picture in your mind's eye your favorite banana. It can be perfectly yellow, a little brown and bruised, maybe still a little green. Be fair trade or organic or Trader Joe's or whatever that is. And we're going to make that shape with our body. So take a moment, bring your feet together, arms overhead. You can flex your toes back towards your face and stretch up and down like you're having a nice yawn. Always feels good. And then start to walk your hands and feet to the right side of your mat or the right side of your room so that from a bird's eye view, your body makes a banana shape or a C curve. Option to keep your feet side by side, hands side by side, or if you'd like, you can cross your left ankle on top of your right ankle for an outer thigh IT band stretch. You can also cross your left hand on top of your right hand for a little bit more of a shoulder opener. If this posture is uncomfortable for your lower back, you are welcome to roll up a small pillow or blanket underneath your lower lumbar spine for extra support there. You can have the back of your head on the floor, or you can roll your right ear down towards the floor for a little bit of an extra neck and shoulder stretch. And we're going to hold here for 3 minutes. So there's 3 rules to Yin Yoga, and they're very simple. All you have to do is make a shape with your body, hold the shape, and breathe through your nose. Now, at a certain point, when we hold postures for long periods of time, we might become a little uncomfortable. And being a little uncomfortable here is okay, but if you're ever in pain or you're like gritting your teeth or holding your breath, that's an invitation to switch up your shape and then find stillness again. So for example, if this is too much of a stretch along the left side body, you could walk your hands and feet in a little bit closer to the center line, lessening the stretch. If having your arms long overhead is too much for the shoulders, you could try bending your arms and catching opposite elbow, or you can even bring one or both arms down by your side to give the shoulders a break. These are all, examples of little modifications that you can do. In every posture, I'll explain a little bit about it. I'll explain a little bit about the philosophy behind Yin Yoga, and then I'll just give us some time to hold and breathe through the nose. With about 30 seconds left in the posture, you're welcome to stay just as you are, knowing that we're almost to the end. Or if you'd like, you can walk your hands and feet a little bit closer to the right side of the room, deepening the stretch at the end. You can inhale through your nose, feel your body rise. If you'd like, you can open your mouth, exhale through your mouth, let your body sink a little bit deeper into the posture at the end. When we hold postures for 3 to 5 minutes, we want to come out of them slowly with intention because our body does start to sort of mold into that shape. So if your head was rolled a little to the right, slowly roll your head back so that the back of your head is on your mat. If your left hand is crossed on top of your right hand, you can uncross hands or straighten arms. If your left leg is crossed on top of your right leg, slowly uncross ankles. And then take your time walking your hands and feet back to the center line of your body, center line of your space. You can once again stretch up and down or make any movements that feel good to you. It's a little freestyle moment. And then relax your arms down by your side. You can open your arms and legs as much as you'd like. This posture in other styles of yoga is commonly referred to as Savasana or corpse pose or dead body pose. Yin Yoga often has more like cutesy names for postures. So rather than corpse pose, this is puddle pose, like a rain puddle. You can open your arms and legs as much or as little as you want and think it's a little bit more freestyle, right? You can act like a rain puddle here. And especially in Yin Yoga, when we're holding postures for 3 to 5 minutes, we take a little moment to reset in between every asana, just in a more neutral position. Okay, let's do the other side of our banana pose. Bring your feet close together, arms overhead. Once again, you can flex your feet, stretch up and down, have a nice yawn. And then as you're ready, walk your hands and feet to the left side of the room. Option to cross your right ankle on top of your left ankle for an IT band stretch. Option to cross your right hand on top of your left hand for a little bit more of a shoulder opener. You can keep the back of your head on the floor or roll your head slightly to the left so your left ear comes down. In general, right, if you cross your one ankle on top of the other on the other side, you probably want to cross your ankle on top here as well. However, we are not symmetrical, and this side might necessitate something else, right? Like maybe your hands and feet are a little bit closer to the center line of your body on this side, or maybe you have one or both arms down by your side, right? Or you place a little pillow under your lower back. We are not symmetrical. We are not butterflies. We are perfectly imperfect. And nowhere in yoga does it say that the goal is to become symmetrical. Now, through a yoga practice, we often do even out a little bit. We sometimes gain a little bit more balance, strength, flexibility, but these are all byproducts. The real goal of yoga is to get to know yourself better, to accept yourself, to love yourself, lather, rinse, repeat. It is commonly referred to as self-realization, right? The goal of yoga is self-realization, even like God realization. If you believe in a higher power, like getting in touch with that higher power, whatever that is for you, right? Whether that's an internal voice or a deity or multiple gods or none at all, but it's getting in touch with yourself a little bit better and maybe even a spirit that lives within each of us. Because we hold postures for 3 to 5 minutes, do about 70% of what you think you should be doing. And if you are type A, hypercritical of yourself, always pushing, do about 60% of what you think you should be doing. If we were to hold this posture for 30 seconds, I might say, push to your deepest point immediately. But because we're holding postures for longer, we want to do a little bit less, but we actually end up working deeper into muscles, into connective tissue, into tendons, ligaments, and joints. So with Yin Yoga, it really is a less is more philosophy. With about 30 seconds left in the posture, you're welcome to stay just as you are. Or if you'd like a deeper stretch at the end, walk your hands and feet a little bit closer to the left side of the room, stretching the right side body, compressing the left side body, opening through the shoulders as you wake up your spine. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through your nose, or if it feels good, sigh out anything you'd like to let go of. If your head is rolled to the left, you're going to gently roll your head back to center. If your hands are crossed or elbows are bent, lengthen the arms, uncross the hands. If your right ankle is crossed over your left ankle, uncross ankles. And then as you're ready, slowly walk your hands and feet back to your mat or your space. You can once again stretch up and down or do any other motions that feel good for you. And then make your way back into your puddle pose, arms and legs down. If lying on your back with your legs straight does not feel good to your lower back, you are welcome to have a small blanket or pillow under your lower lumbar spine. And or You can always bend your legs so that your feet are on the floor about hip width distance, knees rest together, and that helps to take pressure off of the lower back as well. Okay, bend your knees if they're not already. You can slowly roll off to one side, and if it feels good, you can even hug your knees in and give yourself a little hug here. Great, and then lengthen your legs and keep rolling onto your abdomen, lying on your stomach for Sphinx Pose. So for Sphinx Pose, I will show you from the front and from the side. Picture your favorite Sphinx in your mind's eye. It can be the Sphinx in Egypt, the Sphinx in Las Vegas, the Sphinx in Harry Potter book 4, and we are going to make that shape with our body. So the idea is you're going to bend your arms with your hands and elbows about shoulder width distance and place your upper arms on the floor. We're getting a back bend here. If the elbows are under the wrists, this will certainly include like deep compression to the lower spine. This can be a little bit much. Bringing your arms forward will lessen the compression to the lower spine. If lying on your stomach does not feel good, I will give two options. You can either place a pillow underneath your thighs so that your abdomen hangs off, or you can lie on your back with a pillow underneath your middle back and another little pillow for under your head. So you still get a back bend, but now you're not putting any pressure on the abdomen. So those are alternatives if lying on your stomach does not feel good or you are not medically cleared by a doctor to lie on your stomach. So from the front, our Sphinx pose looks like this. In general, in Yin Yoga, we want to relax into postures. However, in some postures, there is some activation in the body. So in this posture, you are activating through your elbows and palms so that the shoulders stay out of the ears. My shoulders tend to hunch up in this asana, right? So you want to keep the neck long, shoulders out of the ears. Particularly in our society, we tend to hunch forward a lot. We hunch forward over our work, our food, our kids, our books. The number one thing we hunch over, our cell phones, right? So doing back bends like this is really healing to the spine, and we're also releasing some tension from the front of the body. It's especially important in the winter months when we also tend to hunch forward when we're cold outside. So rolling the shoulders back and down, right? We're healing the spine through compression and we're stretching the front of the body. As you may know, there's a substance throughout our body called fascia, which is like a substance that kind of keeps everything in place so that things don't float out of place. The most famous example of fascia is if you've ever heard of like plantar fasciitis. That's when the fascia on your foot tears, but there's actually fascia all over your body. So in Yin Yoga, when we hold these postures for long periods of time, we also actually help to stretch out the fascia in the body so that it's less likely to tear. So here we're stretching through the fascia on the chest. We're going to hold here for one more minute, keeping your shoulders out of your ears. In the final 30 seconds, you are welcome to stay here, or you can take this into seal pose where you spread your fingers wide, root down through your knuckles and palms, and lengthen your arms. Try to keep your hips down, shoulders out of the ears, and this just increases the compression to the spine at the end. Totally optional. Inhale through your nose. Anything you'd like to let go of, sigh it out. But if your arms are straight, bend the elbows back down to the floor. And then we're slowly going to slide the elbows out to the side, elbows out, palms in. Bring your forehead to the floor, lengthen through the neck. From here, option to stay here with your forehead on the floor, or you can look to one side with one ear on your mat. If you're looking to one side, option to keep your elbows bent and your hands close to your face, or you can bring your arms down, palms facing up, either way. Send deep belly breaths in and out through your nose to massage the front of your body. Breathe deep into any point of tension. Let the floor hold you up. If you're looking to one side, gently lift your head and look to the other side, other ear on your mat. Look forward, chin forward. Place your hands on the floor below your shoulders and take your time slowly pressing yourself up into a seated position. Next, we're going to take a child's pose. For this child's pose, I'm going to offer some different variations as well as some use of props. You're going to have your knees and feet close together. Right away, if you have tight toes, ankles, knees, you're welcome to roll up your yoga mat so that there's extra padding under your lower body joints. You can also place a blanket or pillow underneath there. If your hips do not sink down to your heels, that is really normal. You are welcome to place a pillow in between your calves and hamstrings. And from here, you're just going to put your hands on the floor. For this version of child's pose, try to keep your knees together and reach your arms forward so that one day forehead touches the floor. If your forehead's off the floor, you could also roll up a blanket or pillow and place it under your head so that your head feels supported. If having your arms overhead is too much for the shoulders, you can also take your arms down, palms facing up, and this is called fetal pose rather than child's pose. This is a great way to stretch out through the toes, the ankles, the knees. We're also lengthening the spine, right? From the lower back, middle back, and upper back. If the arms are overhead, you're lengthening through the shoulders as well. We're going to hold here for 4 minutes. So in some styles of yoga, you contract muscles to get into the postures, right? Like in power yoga, 26 and 2 yoga, vinyasa yoga, stuff like that. You're often moving in time and space. You are really strengthening muscles as well as stretching them, and you're contracting muscles to hold postures. And you're also holding postures for like 30 seconds to a minute. In Yin Yoga, rather than contracting muscles, we want to relax muscles, right? So think about softening through the body, softening through the breath, releasing any tension in the body, really just starting to let the floor hold you up. So you're going to melt into the posture. Now, again, when we hold postures for long periods of time, we're not contracting muscles, we're relaxing them, but we also really start to work into not just muscle tightness, but joints, fascia, tendons, ligaments, right? The connective tissue in the body. So a little bit goes a long way. At some point, your body might start to talk to you like, my ankles and hips are talking to me right now. A little bit of discomfort is okay, but if you are in pain, if you're making a face or holding your breath, you can take a break or grab a prop that's going to help you relax into the posture more. We have a little less than 2 minutes left.
Final few moments, you can hold just as you are, or really reach your arms forward, sink your hips back, inhale, feel the backs of your ribs open, stretching your spine. Exhale, releasing any lingering tension from the body, sinking a little deeper into the posture. Good. Gently lift your head, look forward, slowly walk your hands in under your shoulders. Take your time. We're going to very slowly press up. Take your time, no rush. If you'd like a little counter stretch here, you can take your arms behind you, maybe even interlace fingers behind you. Press your hands back, do a little back bend. Good. Coming back into a spine neutral position. You can place your hands on the floor in front of you, lift your hips, and if you'd like, you can straighten one leg back, flex the toes back, and straighten the other leg back, flex the toes back. Any other motions that feel good to your body right now. And then as you're ready, you're going to turn and lie on your back into your puddle pose. Sometimes the release from a posture can be as intense as the posture itself. So in that posture, we stretched out the toes, the ankles, the knees, the hips. We stretched out the spine. We also cut off a little bit of circulation to our feet, right? Not for an alarming amount of time. But right now, for example, I'm feeling a large rush of blood into my calves, into my shins, into my ankles, into my toes. I'm experiencing like a temperature change in my feet, for example. You might experience that or you might not. But again, just sometimes we actually feel things a little bit more once it's done than when we're in it. Or sometimes we really feel it when we're in it, or both. And just like with the breathing exercise, right? In yoga, you're taking what works for you and leaving the rest. So, sometimes one person will say, wow, that posture was super profound, or I felt it so intensely. And another person in class might be like, I have no idea what that was. I barely felt anything. And both are valid, right? You can feel it all, you can feel nothing. Usually we're somewhere in between, but they're all valid experiences in the human body. Bend your legs if they're not already. You can hug your knees into your chest for a second, rock right and left, back and forth, and then roll to one side, maybe the side you haven't rolled off to yet, if you remember. No worries if not. And take your time, press yourself up. Yin Yoga is a floor-based style of yoga. However, there is one standing posture and we are going to do it today. It is called Dangling Pose. I will also provide a seated alternative. And if you already know that Dangling Pose is not for you, you can, and you know what the seated alternative is, go for it right away. Otherwise, I will share more. We've been on the floor for a while, so take your time standing up, especially if you have low blood pressure. And sorry, you can't see all of me, but you're going to stand with your feet anywhere from like 2 feet to 4 feet apart. And you can play around with the step at first. You're going to bend your knees generously and start to fold forward. It's called dangling pose for a reason. The idea is you are dangling forward. From here, you can let your head hang heavy. Maybe at first move your hips right and left, back and forth. Keeping your heels on the floor, you can bend one knee, straighten the other. And then have a soft bend in both knees. You can drop your head down and either have your hands on the floor, or you can bend your arms and catch opposite elbow and opposite hand. This is a great way to stretch out the calves and hamstrings. It's a great way to lengthen through the spine. And we're going to hold here for 3 minutes. You also get a nice rush of blood to your head. It's kind of like giving yourself a facial without having to go to the beauty spa, right? Which is kind of nice. However, this can be a lot on the lumbar spine. You're welcome to try taking a larger or smaller step or bending your knees a little bit more. But if this does not feel good to your back, you're going to look forward, place your hands on the floor, bend your knees, and come back down into a seated position. And instead of dangling pose, you're just going to sit on your butt with your feet in front of you, stick your butt out a little bit, walk your hands forward, and fold forward. If you're doing the seated version, you are welcome to keep your back nice and flat. This is particularly a great option if you have a history of slip discs. Keeping the spine long will help to protect the lower back, or you can really fold forward and let your head drop. Whether you were in dangling pose or a forward fold, notice where you might be carrying tension in your body. We're about halfway through the asana. See if you can really relax through the hamstrings, really relax through the spine. And especially if you're dangling, just let gravity do the work here, right? You're not pulling or stretching in any way. You're really just relaxing the muscles as you fold. I one time did a Yin Yoga posture in the park, and we were a Yin Yoga class in the park, and we were doing this posture, and I'm in dangling, and I'm looking upside down, and this squirrel comes up a few feet from me and is like looking me dead in the eyes while I'm doing dangling pose, and I was like, is this squirrel going to like leap and bite my butt? Like, it was a very weird, funny moment to commune with nature, but I still think about it every time I do dangling pose with my little squirrel friend, who luckily did not come any closer. Can you relax just a little bit deeper? Not forcing or fighting, just softening. In the final moments, if you'd like a deeper hamstring stretch, if you're in dangling, you're going to stick your butt up more to straighten the legs. Or if you're folding forward, you can stick your butt back more and flex your toes back to straighten the legs. Inhale through your nose. Anything you want to let go of, let it go through the exhale breath. If you're in dangling pose, you're going to bend your knees generously, look forward so that your back flattens out. Walk your hands forward, slowly bend your knees and come down onto your knees. Taking a moment here, sitting upright. That was a big rush of blood to your head, which is now coming back into the body. If you were in a forward fold, you're going to walk your spine back up to a neutral position. And then yogi's choice, you can either lie on your abdomen in puddle pose or lie on your back in puddle pose. I'm going to lie on my abdomen. If you did dangling pose, we did play around a little bit with circulation there, right? So again, the idea is we got a big rush of blood to the brain for a long period of time. And now as we come back onto the floor, the blood that was in the brain goes back into the heart, back into the arms, into the torso, into the legs, to get a nice rush of blood flushing out the body. If you're on your abdomen and looking to one side, you can gently lift your head and look to the other side. If you're on your back, you're going to bend your knees, roll off to one side, and it'll leisurely press yourself up into a seated position. If you're on your abdomen, you're going to look forward, place your hands on the floor, and it'll leisurely press yourself up into a seated position. Great. Next, we're going to do a hip opener called, well, in most styles of yoga, it's called pigeon pose, but in Yin Yoga, again, with the cutesy names, it's called Swan Pose. And I'm going to walk us through Swan Pose, and then I will provide some alternatives if Swan Pose does not feel good for you or is not accessible. So just keep that in mind. For Swan Pose, you're going to come onto all fours into a tabletop position. Look at your arms and legs, identify which side is left, which side is right. And we are going to do the right side first. So you're going to start by sliding your right knee towards your right wrist and bringing your right foot to the left side of the room. From here, start to lengthen the left leg back, and eventually you're going to sink your hip all the way down. Look back, you want your left ankle, knee, and hip in line. If your hip is way off of your mat, that is really normal. You can place pillows or blankets underneath your hip so that there's extra support there. This pillow's a little too big, but how about, yes, I think this blanket will work. You're gonna sink your hip down, right? So you can place a pillow or blanket underneath your hip. And from here, there's a couple options with the lower body. You want to keep with the upper body. You want to keep the shoulders out of the ears. You can lift up into a back bend with fingers tinted. You can also fold your swan one day forehead to floor. If Swan Pose is not your thing today, you're going to come out of it.
And instead you can take a figure four, and I'll give you two options for figure four. Number one is sitting on your butt with your feet in front of you, hands behind you. You're simply going to cross your right ankle over your left shin, like so. And then as you'd like, you can walk your hands in to deepen the stretch so that your thighs and abdomen come closer together. You can also take a supine figure four on your back, either with your foot on the floor, or you can lift your left foot off the floor, interlace your 10 fingers behind your left thigh and pull down. And these are great alternatives to Swan Pose. Swan Pose is too intense on the hips, knees, or ankles. And also if you want to do Swan Pose one day, but you can't quite yet, figure four is a really good place to start. So just keep that in mind. We're going to hold here for 2 more minutes. In this posture, we're working through hip tightness. We're working our side seat. This posture is also really good for sciatic nerve pain. If you've ever had sciatica, right? Swan Pose or figure four is a really great way to stretch out that nerve. If you're not familiar with sciatica, the longest nerve in our bodies, our sciatic nerve, goes from the lower back, like all the way down our leg into our foot, which is pretty cool. But sometimes, especially if you have like a slip disc or something like that, the lumbar spine will start to compress on that nerve. And you can feel it all the way into like your knee or your foot, which is not so fun. So postures like this that stretch out the side seat help to like realign that nerve and stretch out that nerve. And yoga in general helps to stretch out your back so that hopefully you don't end up with a pinched nerve. One of the not cool because sciatica sucks, but one of the interesting things about it, right, is if you have sciatica, you will often experience it in your leg when really the issue is stemming from the nerve starting in the spine. And that's just a reminder that sometimes I feel tightness in my shoulder, but it's actually like something going on in my knee, or sometimes I'll feel tightness in my foot, but it's actually like an imbalance in my hip. So just a reminder that the body kind of works together. And sometimes if you feel pain in one part of the body, it might also be associated with tightness in another part of the body. Holding here for 30 more seconds. You are welcome to take a different shape with the upper body, maybe coming down or lifting up. Inhale. Anything you want to let go of, sigh it out. You're going to slowly press your spine up into a neutral position, hands about shoulder width distance. Slowly start to lift your hips up and back. Bring your knees back into a tabletop position. Any sort of motion that you want to do with your body that feels good and right to you at this time, you are welcome to do. And then you're going to turn and lie on your back, Puddle Pose. Sometimes when we do hip openers or back bends, they can also release some like emotion that is stuck in our body. So it's not uncommon after a hip opener, like pigeon pose, to have an urge to like laugh or cry or whatever that is. So just again, I want to validate that whatever you're feeling in body, mind, or spirit is very normal. Someone has felt it before. Somebody will feel it again. There's nothing wrong with you. Nobody's told you this yet today. There's nothing wrong with you, but there's also nothing wrong with you practicing yoga, trying a hip opener, trying a back bend. We'll do our other side of our Swan Pose. If you know that figure four is for you, you can take the figure four on your back, just crossing the other ankle on top, or you can make your way into a seated position. Take your time. Again, you can also do figure four on your butt, or we can try our Swan Pose. It's coming back onto your knees. This time you're going to slide your left knee towards the left ankle. Pardon me, left knee towards left knee towards left wrist. There we go. Slide your left ankle a little to the right, and then start to slide your right leg back. Look back, make sure your ankle, knee, and hip are in line. And again, this side might feel very different from the other side. It does for me, that's okay. You're welcome to place pillows or blankets underneath that right hip. You can stay lifted. You can come down. You can also try figure four instead if you'd like. Lots of options. If you've ever wanted to do the splits, this is also like one, practice way to get into the splits one day. That's I don't know, a personal goal of yours for whatever reason. And again, we're really working out through the side seat, the hip, and the sciatic nerve. If you're upright in pigeon, keep your shoulders out of your ears, neck long. Holding here for 2 more minutes. Notice where you're fighting or forcing the posture, where you might be holding onto some tension. Again, just see if you can really melt into the posture, relaxing into it rather than forcing it. The final moments of class, you can stay just as you are or get a little deeper or try a different variation if that feels right to you. Inhale through your nose. Anything you want to let go of, sigh it out. Gonna gently make your way into a spine neutral position, placing your hands on the floor. Very slowly lift your hips up and back. Slowly slide that left knee back. And again, any movements that you want to do with your body here that feel good to your body, take them. And then we're going to turn and lie on our back. Good. Puddle pose. Let that posture go. Let it be done. I always like to end class with a spine twist, which is just a really great way to reset your back. For the sake of time, we're not going to do like a 3 to 5 minute spine twist today, just like a 1 minute twist. And it's just a supine spine twist. You're going to bend your legs if they're not already, so your feet are on the floor. You can have your arms out to the side, either big and long, like I love yoga this much, or you can bend your arms, cactusing them like goalposts. And from here, you're simply going to roll to your right so that your left hip stacks on top of your right hip, left leg on top of right leg. Try to keep your left shoulder on the floor. Option to have your head on the floor or roll your left ear down towards the floor, looking in the opposite direction of your legs to deepen the twist. This is a great way to reset your back, and it's also an abdominal wall twist, good for digestion, especially during seasonal transitions. Sometimes our stomach gets a little bit confused. So doing some spine twists every day, as well as back bends, good for releasing tension from the body, good for digestion.
Relax completely. Completely relax. You're looking to the left, slowly roll your head back to center so the back of your head is on your mat. Take your time, you're going to roll your left hip back down, so knees point up. And then we're going to roll to the other side. So right hip stacks on top of left hip, right leg on top of left leg. Try to keep your right shoulder on the floor. You can keep the back of your head on the floor or look to the right, bringing the right ear down towards the floor. Breathe. Let your hands, feet, and head be heavy. Keeping the right shoulder down, the heart space open as you twist. If you're looking to the right, slowly roll your head back to center. From here, bring your right hip back down, feet on the floor, knees rest together for a moment. Inhale through your nose, feel your body expand with the inhale breath. This is our last sigh. Anything you want to let go of, let it go with the exhale breath. You can keep your knees bent and your feet on the floor, or you can bring your arms and legs down for your final puddle pose. I often find that after a yoga practice, I am at my most truthful, my most compassionate, my most creative. And then sometimes I don't really do much with that. I kind of go about my day and all that mindfulness, frankly, goes, not always. Sometimes I continue a mindful pace throughout my evening, but often I find that I just go back to kind of business as usual. And so once a month, I offer journaling after yoga as a creative outlet for us to like use all of this energy and goodwill that we've built towards ourselves in this time. There's no prior writing experience necessary. You are also welcome to simply like stay in Savasana and just listen to the questions and reflect on them if writing is not your thing. But I often find there's something really magical about putting pen to paper and just kind of releasing something by writing it down. So we're just going to stay in final Savasana for another 30 seconds, at which point I'll invite you either to continue in Savasana, to make your way into a seated position, or if you have somewhere else that your day is taking you, right, to just quietly show yourself out of the Zoom room. All right, as you're ready, if you'd like, you can make your way into a comfortable seated position. You can grab a sip of water if you have something available to you. Grab your pen and paper.
So today is March 1st, a new month. And we're just going to start by writing down 10 things that we know to be true right now. So for example, one thing that I might say I know to be true is like, it is getting warmer, or the sun is now setting after 6 p.m. Or I am really busy today, right? But I just invite you to write down like 10 things that are on your mind, 10 truths, 10 realities in your life right now. I used to start with gratitude, but I think there's something nice just to acknowledge our reality. Not necessarily assigning judgment like good or bad, but just acknowledging like, I am tired, or the sun is setting later, right? 10 realities. You might be surprised with what comes up. And that's okay. And sometimes just writing something down helps us to get it out. Okay. Next, I'm going to invite you to write down 20 things that you are grateful for. So 20 gratitudes. It can be people, places, things. Every single month I write, I am grateful for candles. I love candles. It could be Thai food, whatever it is. 20 things you're grateful for. 20 gratitudes. Okay. Today is March 1st. What do you know now that you didn't know on February 1st? What do you know now that you didn't know a month ago? And of course, it might be a fun fact that you learn, but I also invite you to reflect on maybe what you know about yourself now that you didn't know earlier. Looking to the month ahead, March is often where our weather starts to change, our climate starts to change, and sometimes by extension, our spirit starts to change. So, for example, I think like last week we had a really sunny, warm day, and I could feel that in my body. So, what is the transition from winter to spring feel like for you? What does it bring up emotionally for you? What does it feel like in your body? Where do you feel it in your body? Like I can feel it in my abdomen and my chest. You might feel it in your knees, right? What is the transition? What does this March transition of weather feel like for you, and where do you feel it? Sometimes at the beginning of the year, we will set intentions or resolutions with the idea of like, I'm going to work out every day for an entire year, which often at this point we realize is not realistic. Rather than having a year-long resolution, I invite you now to think of one very small, realistic habit or resolution for for the month of March that you can practice, whether that is, drinking 8 glasses of water every day, or doing a silly dance to a song every day, or journaling once a week, or whatever that is. But what is one habit that you can practice or try on for March, knowing that it's just a month? On this same theme, is there a certain theme that you view for March? Maybe it's something that you always feel this time of year, like a spring awakening, or maybe it's just a theme that you'd like to try out for this month, like recommitting to health or something like that. What is a theme for March? And reflecting on your habit and your theme, what is a word, a phrase, a sentence, or a mantra that you'd like for this month? So a word might be, health, or a phrase might be, I'm worth it. And I invite you to write down whatever that word, phrase, sentence, mantra is for you. And you are welcome to, actually post this somewhere in your house, literally put it in your back pocket, or just have it as a memory in your mind. But a word, a phrase, or a mantra that you can take with you through the month of March. All right. So again, sometimes I find it really helps just to like write stuff out, and something about putting pen to paper kind of gets it out of your mind and into the world. You are welcome to keep this journaling with you. You are welcome to tear it up and throw it away. If you have a fire safe way to burn it, you can do that. Or again, you can keep it for a record. Same thing with your mantra, your habit, or your theme. That's something that you can write down if you are a visual person. And again, I do this the first Tuesday of every month. So thank you all so much for joining me. It is a joy to be here with all of you. Happy Mardi Gras, and I will see you all soon. Bye, friends.